Have you ever woke up and realized that your whole life has become a test? That's because self-improvement, the thing that was supposed to build you up, can actually destroy you. And most men don't realize this until they've completely lost themselves. I locked into 3 years of intense self-improvement, taking no days off, doubled my income, got in the best shape of my life, became the youngest leader in my company. And you would think through all this achievement, I felt better, I felt more accomplished, but I felt just as empty as before I started. When I started my journey, I was unemployed, in active addiction, active depression, and obviously there was a lot of benefits to this journey. I started taking better care of myself. I started making strides in every part of my life, was the most productive version of myself. But despite all of that, it didn't heal what was truly important, and it also destroyed other important parts of my life. If you're thinking about getting into self-improvement, and I mean to a deep level, I'm going to point out all the things that you must avoid to not end up broken and lost, even more than before you started your journey. Phase 1. The trap of never being enough. Self-improvement can slowly turn into self-hatred. Every video you see tells you you're not working hard enough. Every guy on your feed is more successful, more shredded, more fulfilled than you. And before you know it, you start comparing yourself against an illusion. Psychologically, that's called chronic self-comparison, and it activates the same neural pathways in your brain as real physical danger. Your brain gets addicted to the chase, but never finds true peace. You keep saying, I'll be happy when I make 6 figures, when I get this physique, when I'm finally confident. But the goalpost keeps moving. It's never enough. Because the truth is, self-improvement without self-acceptance is just a more glorified version of self-hatred. Before you start your journey, it's important to identify what success means to you. Because a lot of you think you want money, you want status, but you really want the feeling that comes with it. You really want the respect that comes with it. You might just want the freedom of having that, of having the resources to be your own boss, to have control over your time, or just enough to be able to support a family. The first mistake I made was not specifying exactly what success meant to me, what I was chasing after, when I would be fulfilled and satisfied. Because if that's not something that you lay out in detail, you're going to keep knocking out these achievements. You're going to keep growing, but it's never going to be enough, and you won't even feel it. After falling into this first trap, that leads you into the second phase, which is the identity crisis. After falling into that first trap, before you know it, it leads you straight into phase 2, the identity crisis. This is where a lot of men fall into the trap of performing progress. You're not improving because you value who you are. You're improving because you hate yourself. And when your identity is built on constant change, you can never be grounded. You can't rest. You can't take a pause without feeling guilty for it. And that's why a lot of you watching this video will just end up getting burnt the fuck out, because you're not building for the point of purpose, you're building from your pain. And listen, I understand that that's the way to deal with it, but no amount of discipline, focus, productivity, achievement is gonna stop you from fucking hating yourself. This is why even when you're doing all the right things, you still spiral into depression. You still fall into that place that you were before because you're not building for the right purpose. You don't have the right initiative. I made the mistake of going way too extreme with it. I killed my personality, thinking if I cracked one joke that it would defile all of the serious points that I make. But that's not true. Because your humor and your charisma is just as important as all the intelligent things that you can tell people. One of the biggest things I had to realize is there's a time and place for everything. And if you take it too fucking extreme, you're gonna start pulling up to the function and dropping quotes on people and explaining psychological functions to them. And let me tell you, Nobody gives a fuck in that setting. Nobody cares what you're talking about, and you're going to be the most robotic, uninteresting person in the room. Which brings us into phase 3. The masculine balance. Masculinity isn't about being perfect. It's not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being anchored, being at peace with yourself, that self-acceptance that I mentioned earlier. Of course, every man should strive to grow, to reach his full potential that God gifted him with. Of course, every man should shoot to grow, to reach his full potential that God set out for him. Of course, every man should strive to reach his full potential, but not because he hates where he stands. Not because he hates who he is. I'm a firm believer that there is purpose in pain, and that pain should be used to learn, to correct, to become a better person. But if you are operating out of existing wounds without healing them, you will never be the leader that you think you are. Real masculinity is built on 2 pillars: discipline and acceptance. Discipline keeps you going, it keeps you productive, it keeps you growing. Acceptance keeps you from losing your fucking mind, from literally going insane, from having completely unrealistic expectations of where you should be at this time in your life. And when you combine them, you become grounded, peaceful, and powerful, operating from wholeness, not from brokenness. Which leads us into phase 4, the biggest trap of them all: intellectual brain rot. This is when you start consuming only self-improvement content, hundreds of videos a day, not realizing by the 5th one you already forgot the first one, and you're not retaining none of that shit. You watching all of this content, thinking that you're doing something, but not applying any of it to your life, is the same as you watching brain rot content, watching the same meaningless shit that you were looped and roped into before. The method I created to completely destroy this happening to you is you don't know something until you apply it and execute it into your own life. If you just get caught in the cycle of overloading your brain with information without putting any action behind it, you're literally doing nothing. And you're filling your brain with so much shit that by the time you go and actually try to attack your goals, you've already overloaded your daily capacity in your brain to even have the energy or mental clarity to make any progress on that front. So if you want to avoid this, if you're reading a book, watching a podcast, whatever it is, think immediately, how can I apply this into my life as soon as possible? Phase 5, and ultimately the one that saved my life, the shift. So if you're watching this and you've been on the grind for months, maybe years, I want you to ask yourself this question: am I growing or am I running? Running from my insecurities, running from everything that I hate about myself, trying to prove to the world that I am worth being loved. Because like I said before, a lot of you don't even want money. You just want to be seen. You want to feel important. You're operating from a place of ego where you say, I need you to know who I am so I can believe it too. You're waiting on this validation. You're waiting for everybody to celebrate you. You're operating from a place of entitlement, brother. Self-improvement is supposed to make you a better version of who you are, not erase you. So slow down, reconnect, focus on who you actually are, what you believe in. Stop trying to be something that you're not. Do it for the purpose of loving yourself, not because you're trying to get other people to love you. And that's when self-improvement stops destroying you and starts transforming you. If this resonated with you, share it with one of your friends who's grinding himself into the ground. And subscribe for more videos about masculine growth the right way.